Right, good day learners. In the first video we looked at the calculations for VAT and you had to complete this table. In the second part now they ask you to calculate the amount owing to SARS or owing by SARS for the 2-month period. The 2-month period is because we collect VAT on our sales, we pay VAT on our purchases, and after 2 months we do a reconciliation of that and we either pay to SARS or they pay us, and that's what they're asking you to calculate here. You'll notice they don't ask you to do any ledger accounts. That more common in the exams is actually just to ask you to calculate the amount. However, it is important that you also do know how to do the ledger accounts. In this video clip though, I'm going to do the calculations because we need to know whether we're increasing or decreasing. So based on these figures here now, we are going to work out this amount. Now what we need to understand first of all is that we have two types of VAT. There's an input and there's an output VAT. The input VAT is on all the goods and services that you buy or expenses that you pay, and for items that are coming into the business. Now you will be required to pay VAT on that, but you can claim it back from SARS as long as you are a registered VAT dealer, which means that you've got a turnover of more than $1 million. On the other hand, you will be collecting VAT on all your sales and all the goods that are going out of the business. At the end of the 2-month period, this input and output VATs are combined into a VAT control account. And the purpose of the VAT control account is to work out which is bigger, the input or the output. If the input is higher, it means you've paid more than you received, in which case you will get a refund from SARS. On the other hand, if your output VAT is higher, then you've collected more than what you've paid. You'll do a reconciliation between the difference, in other words, what you've collected minus all the VAT that you've actually paid, and the difference gets owed to SARS. Now it's this calculation that we are required to do, and as I said, they might ask you in grade 11 sometimes to do ledger accounts, and we'll look at that just now. But first of all, let's get the principle sorted out of how this VAT works. And overall, we need to take into account that SARS, in their calculation of VAT, works on a principle of fairness. In other words, if you collect VAT from a customer, then that money is owed to SARS. However, if you do not collect the VAT and you don't collect any money from your debtor, then you won't be expected to pay SARS. So let's just take note of this fairness as we go through this. Now because it's for a 2-month period, you'll find that most of your tasks will start off where they'll give you a VAT output and a VAT input amount for the previous month, for September. So starting off in October, which is the month we're working, we've already collected output VAT. Remember the money we've collected? We've already collected 26,450, but we've paid out 16,800, so we can claim that back. So in our calculation, we'd start off with saying that's what we owe SARS, but we will minus off that 16,800 because we don't owe that money to SARS. We've already paid it and we can claim it back. Now, from your figures, we are going to work with the VAT amounts here. Now, I'm not checking the figures now. You should have already checked that with the memo when you did the first part of the task. So let's go through with these figures. And I want you to concentrate more on the plus and the minuses than the accuracy of the figures at this stage. If there's sales of goods, you've sold goods, you've charged your customer VAT, you therefore have collected more VAT which you owe to SARS. So overall, we're going on the amount, what do we owe to SARS? So we owe them another 6,750. However, we bought some more trading stock, so we would have been charged it, we would have paid that VAT, but as we are not the final consumer, we're using this to carry on in our business, we can claim it back from SARS. So we will reduce the amount that we owe to SARS. Now, it's not only trading stock that you can claim back from. It's anything that is deemed to be essential in the business. So, for example, equipment, your telephone account, your water, electricity account, your rent account, stationery, all of these items. Whatever you pay, the VAT portion of it, you can claim back. Again, you're not the final user. You are VAT registered, so you can claim it back from SARS. So, although you owed them this amount of money, you can claim back, you can reduce the amount of SARS that you owe SARS with what you've already paid. Now let's look at a debtor's allowances. Now you already know that debtor's allowances means that you've sold goods to a debtor. That debtor therefore owes you money and he owes you VAT, which you owe to SARS. However, if that debtor returns some of these goods, you're not going to get paid for those goods, and therefore you are not expected to pay that money over to SARS. The original sale was cancelled. So although you owed, let's say 6,750 to SARS for sales, 180 Rand of that, and that, remember, that is the VAT part of the debtor's allowance. You can't claim back the whole debtor's allowances, but you can claim back the VAT. And that was, if you remember looking at your exercises, 1,200 rands worth of goods excluding VAT were returned to you. The VAT is just 180. That VAT is no longer owing to SARS, so you can minus it. In a similar vein now, if you allow your debtor a discount, now let's go back, you charged a debtor 6,750. Let's assume this is one debtor. When that debtor came to pay you, you gave them a discount. So you're not going to get the full amount owed. And therefore, a portion of that, the VAT amount, you don't have to pay SARS. Remember I said to you at the beginning, the fairness concept. SARS is saying that if you're not collecting the full amount, the VAT portion of what you don't collect, you therefore don't owe to SARS. So you can also minus it off what you owe them. Now, drawings of trading stock. Remember, drawings is when the owner takes goods for his own use. Now, the business entity principle tells you that you've got to keep the business and the owner's affairs separate. So, when you claim back VAT on goods you've bought, that's for business use. If the owner then takes some of these goods for his own use, he becomes the final user, and therefore you are not entitled to claim that back. So because you would have minused when those goods were bought, you are now going to have to plus it back. You owe that money to SARS. And then the last of our examples here is a bad debt written off. Follows the same concept as a debtor's allowances and discount. You had a debtor that owed you money. The debtor is not going to pay you, so you're writing his account off as bad debt. The VAT portion of that bad debt, and remember again, if you look back at what you've just calculated, the bad debt you wrote off was 800 Rand exclusive or 920 inclusive. The 120 of that was money that was owed to SARS, and so you can then claim that back from SARS, so you can minus it. Now, I know this can get a little bit confusing, and there are different ways of working it out. Another way would be to open up a VAT input and a VAT output column and then do the plus and minuses. Why I personally prefer this is that you go from one concept at the beginning and say, I owe SARS that. Now, what is happening to the amount I owe SARS? You're not confusing yourself with debits and credits. All you're asking yourself is, am I owing SARS more money, like I would if I sold goods to them? Or am I reducing the amount I owe SARS because I've bought goods or because I've given a debtor an allowance or a discount or a bad debts? So try and work through those things and understand. And then finally, we just plus and minus all that, and it came out with a positive 9,401. And because we started off saying the amount owing to SARS, that's where we started, and we still got a positive, that means that by the end of this period, you owe SARS 9,401 Rand. So with your reconciliation, which has to go to SARS by the 20th of the following month, you will therefore make a payment of that 9,000 odd to them. Learners, very, very important that you first of all can calculate the figures, knowing whether it's an exclusive or an inclusive figure. Because if you can't get those figures right, then you're not going to get the marks here. Secondly, very importantly, to be able to work out whether you owe SARS or SARS owes you money. And you'll find that most of your questions in tests and exam will center around that. They might ask it in different ways. They might ask you to do ledger accounts. They might ask you to do columns. Or, like I've done here, just ask you to work out the amount that you owe to SARS. But you need to spend time focusing on this, because this will be re-examined in grade 12. So take time out to practice these two concepts. Good luck.